Good morning, Toronto. I'm currently here at the Russell Hill emergency exit, approximately 400 meters southeast of St. Clair West Station in the Nordheimer Ravine. Currently, behind those doors is Line 1 of the TTC subway, but in 1995, it was the site of one of the deadliest rapid transit incidents in Canadian history.
I'm on the way, I only get to see.
Before I explain how the accident unfolded, we need to note that the signaling systems back then were much different. Back then, the TTC used signal blocks. Sections of the track were controlled by signals that told the operators whether the block ahead of them was occupied or not. To tell the subway operators whether or not this block ahead was occupied or not, the TTC used wayside signals, which were those large lights right next to the track. But important to note, they did not use any form of cab signal. That meant the operator had to see a signal, remember that signal, and obey that same signal all the way to the next signal. If the operator missed or misunderstood the signal, too bad. There's no backup inside the cab to tell the operator what that signal was. These wayside signals can be a little complicated at times. You have automatic signals, which is just a standard signal head with 3 lights. A red signal means the next block is occupied, so stop now. Yellow means the next block is red. Green means it's always clear. But there are also interlocking signals with 2 heads, used at track switches. The top head is your standard automatic signal, but the bottom one adds extra info. The second light is red if the next block is occupied, like any other red. But yellow meant this track was switched onto a different route, and green meant the track was actually switched on the main route, usually going straight. In addition to this, you can also have gray timings, used when the track is curved, where a light was added underneath the existing heads. If the light was there, the next signal is red only because of gray timing, and if the train approaches at the proper speed, the signal will clear to a yellow or a green before the train gets there. If a train goes too fast, it will pass the red signal. Luckily, if a train does enter a signal block that was occupied by a train, a mechanical safety device known as a trip arm was supposed to physically stop the train by triggering its emergency brake. Supposed to is a key word. On August 11, 1995, a train that was headed southbound towards Finch via Union was stopped at a signal SP53, just north of DuPont Station due to a track surge failure, which caused the signals ahead to display red, forcing the train to stop unexpectedly. The operator had no choice to hold the train where wild maintenance crews scrambled to fix the problem. Meanwhile, the train behind it was also heading southbound and was operating under gray timing and encountering interlocking signals on the downgrade between St. Clair West Station and DuPont. The first major signal that the second train would encounter was the SP77/X38. The interlocking signal just outside St. Clair West Station. It was displaying a yellow over green, a clear X warning aspect that meant proceed with caution. Next signal is red. Importantly, it did not display a white light, which would have indicated gray timing was active. The absence of the white aspect was critical. It meant the train was not cleared to coast downhill under restricted conditions. It had to be prepared to stop at the next signal. Next was SP71, an automatic block signal further down the hill. This signal was displaying a solid red, which means stop. Track ahead was occupied. Had gray timing been active, it would have displayed red over white, permitting slow progression under tight speed rules. The operator, however, incorrectly believed he had seen white, yellow over white, and SP77, which is not a valid signal combination. This misreading led him to believe that gray timing was active, and that SP71 was clear at the end. But SP71 did not clear. The block ahead was still occupied by the first train. Ignoring the solid red, the operator continued past it, violating all signal protocols and coasting further downhill. As he neared SP65, another signal displaying a solid red, he again expected it to clear automatically. It did not. He was now seconds away from disaster. Only when the taillights of the stopped train came to direct view of the operator did the operator finally engage the emergency brakes. By then, it was far too late. The second train collided with the stopped train at speed. Now wait a minute, some of you may ask. Would the second train have hit the trip arm at SP71 and triggered the emergency brakes, which if it passed a red signal? And normally, yes. If the train blows past the red signal, his arm would physically slap a trip valve on the train's underside, forcing the emergency brakes to activate. But that did not happen. Why? This is because of the design flaw baked into the hardware itself. On this Medina line, the contractor Whisper and Becker Inc. used an Ericsson train stop system that had to modify it since the trip arm was placed outside the rail, not in its original center of track design. Their subcontractor, Gale Manufacturing, rigged the mechanical extension to make the arm work in its offset position, but was never fully tested under real-world conditions. As time passed and the wheels wore down, the rails got shaved, and the train took the curves at speed. This modification failed. The train's first wheel hit a bolt on the trip arm mechanism, literally knocked the arm down. It would pop back up, but too late. The trip valve had already been passed, and the emergency brakes never triggered. Between 200 and 300 passengers were on these two trains. 3 passengers, and I'm terribly sorry if I mispronounced them, Christina Munan-Reyes, Kinga Sabu, and Xian Hui Lin, were killed. 30 were sent to the hospital with injuries, and about 100 more later filed injury claims against TTC. Rescue workers extracted many seriously injured passengers from the twisted wreckage through a hot, humid night. Of the 4 crew members aboard, 3 were hospitalized. After the Russell Hill crash, a coroner's inquest handed down 18 recommendations to overhaul TDC safety and operations. Key recommendations included reforming the 1950s Railways Act to include the TDC, giving stronger oversight, mandating independent safety audits every 2 years, and enforcing a state of good repair funding policy prioritizing maintenance over expansion. Training upgrades were pushed, including accredited instructors, realistic testing, and a subway simulator. The signaling system was targeted for major fixes, scrapping faulty features, and improving trip arms to actually stop trains that run red signals. Communication and emergency response were also tightened up with full-scale drills every 5 years. The TDC transformed these 18 recommendations into a 236-point due diligence checklist, tracking progress annually. By 2009, almost all of these points were complete, with full implementation by 2015. Nowadays, this incident wouldn't happen after the full implementation of automatic train control on all of Line 1 back in 2022. With automatic train control, the system constantly tracks all trains. If the train is closing in too close to another train, the automatic train control system would automatically tell the operator to slow down or even apply brakes without waiting for operator action. This way, the train never gets too close to the train in front. As you ride the subway today, remember that behind the sleek, somewhat modern Toronto Rock subway trains lies a story of sacrifice, vigilance, and progress. Where the Russell Hill subway accident reminds us all, safety is not a feature, it's a promise, and one that was written in blood. Thank you for watching. If you somehow enjoyed this video, feel free to subscribe, or not. I don't really mind. Thank you. Have a good day.